All right, friends. Welcome to my Q&A session. As some of you hopefully have noticed, I try to be a bit more honest than your average YouTuber. So at the very beginning of this video, I have to explain why I'm actually doing this. That's why. I just wanted to sell some t-shirts and I need to promote them. And since this doesn't look too nice anymore, this is what the shirt is going to look like after being washed, I don't know, 100 times. Like, this shirt is many years old, so don't you worry. When you order one, it will be brand spanking new with all nice shiny colors. This is how it will look like after being washed 100 times and more, so it's decent quality. So actually, I received so many questions that I can't possibly answer them all in this one video here. So those of you who didn't receive a reply to the question in this video, I will try my best to answer them right where you posted it. Yeah, as you can see from my amazing recording setup, I am not well prepared. Please excuse the phone, but that's where I can find your questions. How are you doing? Oh, thanks for asking. I would say not great, not terrible. How is ye old ZB500 doing? Well, I think that was a question regarding Little Honda that I received many times. It's not doing too well. I mean, it's parked in a dry and warm garage, but I haven't moved it for, I don't know, 4 years now, probably. The reason why I haven't moved it is at one point, thanks to my work on social media, I started receiving those bike ride opportunities. Like, I got to ride press bikes, and so my own little Honda was not interesting anymore, at least for some time. And so I just left her standing. And if you leave a motorcycle standing for too long, at some point, it won't start anymore, and then it will probably develop some other issues in the carburetor area and stuff like that. And since I don't know how to maintain a bike, and I don't have any interest in learning that, because I have other priorities in life, I have other things that interest me way more, I never got to fix it. I never got to basically maintain it, make it street ready again, because I'm pretty sure it would not be much more work than just cleaning the carburetors and maybe give them a retune, and that's probably it. But like I said, I didn't have it's just it's not a priority of mine, because of course I could bring it to a mechanic, but the problem is I also like to go on holidays. Mechanics in Austria are really expensive, so it's either I let a professional fix my bike or I go on holiday. And since I get to ride all kinds of bikes all year long, holidays obviously always win. And don't get me wrong, I'm telling myself every season, this season I will try to fix the problem. I will try to find someone who can help me with it. But it's just not high enough on my list of priorities. Like, that's why, like, I would resurrect it for emotional value. I would go for a ride with it, but then I would return to my usual schedule of doing raw onboards with modern and new press bikes. And some people have asked about my VFR 800. It's exactly the same. I rode it for one season and then left it standing, and now it's standing in my garage, and it would need just a small little fix, and then I could use it again. But like I said, spare time is limited, and modern bikes get more clicks and in the end also more money on YouTube, and I have to use my limited spare time wisely. What is your current bike and your favorite? You already heard it. There is one CB500, my first one, Little Honda. There is the 2000 VFR 800. And since last year, I think, I also own a 97 Honda Dominator, which I used for 2 old-timer rallies or young-timer rallies off-road. that I attended, and that one is the only one which is in somewhat of a working order at the moment, and the only one who's road legal as well. So it has like the safety inspection, the TÜV, the MOT. It's the only one it's the only one that's actually allowed on the road right now. Have you ever ridden a stretched superbike on mountain roads? What is a stretched superbike? Like, is that, or are these those things that they use for drag racing? Last time I looked, I was not a resident of Dubai or whatever, so why would I ride a stretched superbike? Or maybe I'm getting this wrong and this means something else, but sorry, I have no idea. But I'm since I don't ride superbikes at all these days, so I would say it's a no. How do you recover trust after a motorcycle accident? I guess the shocking answer for most people, and that includes me, is you don't. For me, like the riding I do, it's ever since I had my almost fatal accident. Riding motorcycles has not been the same. Like this level of confidence that I had, but at the same time this level of joy that I felt. I can't reach those anymore, because since my accident, obviously fear has become a regular passenger of mine. And so I just had to find a new pace, a new style of riding, where I can, live with my fear, or let's say where I don't feel any kind of fear, because if you're scared on your bike, this means that you will be tensing up, and then this means that you will make mistakes sooner or later. So if I'm trying to put that into some kind of advice, it's important that you go riding. Like, you definitely need to keep riding as soon as you can after a crash. Get back on the bike and continue to ride. But just take it easy, and don't leave that comfort zone of yours. And then from there, you slowly and gradually can raise your speed, and I mean slowly and gradually. So you can't get angry at yourself when you don't get the Marquez speeds that you dream of. No, you have to be patient, and you have to be nice to yourself, and eventually I'm pretty sure that you will reach a point that satisfies you, or that's enjoyable. And if you're scared to get on the bike in general, like if you, I don't know, start to tense up as soon as you hop onto the bike, then seek professional help or stop riding motorcycles. I'm afraid that's the solution here. I'm sorry, I can't give good advice. Like, my riding life is not the same since my crash, so yeah, it's part of the game, unfortunately. What's your personal motorcycle dream garage? I'm using this for all the questions that I received that ask me about my favorite bike, or like the bikes that I would get if money was not an issue, etc., etc. It's a really tough question for me to answer, because I do have access to a lot of modern press bikes, and at the same time, I don't have enough money to buy myself a new modern fancy bike. So I never really think about this question, because it's too theoretical for me, you could say. No, honestly, it just doesn't spring to mind. And for me, even though it's not a priority of mine right now, like to restore my old bikes, but I have it when I'm riding the Dominator, for instance. I really like riding older bikes as contrast to older modern bikes that I get to ride for my YouTube channel or also for work. And so my dream garage would always consist of older bikes, but I don't really have any like old bike icons that I would like to own. The only dream that I had was owning a bike with a V4 engine, and that's why I got myself the VFR. So basically, this bunch of old Hondas that I currently own it is my dream garage, but think on top of that, I'm dreaming of having enough money to pay someone to maintain them for me and go on nice holidays at the same time. So it's a lot of money for sure. However, since last year, I do have an answer to that question of, like, to everyone's favorite question apparently, which bike would you get if you're only allowed one? Like I just said, this question, I never really thought about it. I don't know why. Probably because it was too unrealistic anyway. But last year, travel to Sardinia I did made me realize that this one bike that I would get is the current Yamaha MT-10. Probably the SP version. I didn't write that one, but the SP version is just better than the normal version. There's no doubt about that. So you could say the Yamaha MT-10 SP would be the one bike that I would buy if I could only have one. And the reason why is that this journey to Sardinia made me realize that, and I didn't expect that riding spirited on a naked bike, on a sporty naked bike, still is quite a bit more enjoyable than on any touring or adventure bike. Because I thought, the year before I did the same travel to Sardinia with a lot of miles in between in Italy and Austria and Slovenia. I did the same thing with a Multistrada V4S. On that thing, I was wondering, is there any way to make this more enjoyable? Is there any bike that I would enjoy more? And so in the last year, that was after my Multistrada travel, I told myself that, okay, the MT-10 looks to me like the most comfortable power naked because it has a very relaxed and upright seating position. I will try this kind of travel with the MT-10 and then I will see how I feel about it. And I really did not expect to be enjoying riding much more with the MT-10 compared to the Multistrada. And that's not against the Multistrada. I mean compared to any adventure or tourer or whatever bike. Just because the MT-10 is a sporty naked bike. And riding fast to me is so much more enjoyable when you have shorter suspension travel, so you get more feedback from the bike. And when you carry a lot less weight with you, like you feel that in every like brake zone, you feel that you have, 40 kilograms less compared to an adventure bike. And I had to basically sum up the whole story because I did a video article, like a video review for my employer 1000 PS, but unfortunately it's in German. And I summed it up with that all that lack of comfort that you accept, definitely worth it. And like I said, it was a surprise to me. And yeah, from all the power nakeds, the MT-10 is my favorite because the engine is a masterpiece. I love the engine sound. And like I said, the relaxed seating position is great. You can somehow attach soft panniers to the bike, which kind of works. I used like a bag on the rear seat. It's a good compromise between sportiness and comfort. So like from all the power and hyper nakeds, I don't see anyone that would suit my kind of like riding and my needs more than the MT-10. So yeah, that's the one. Did you ever try the SV650 first generation? No. This one was in German. I will try to translate it, but yeah, I'm primarily not trying to do German questions in this video. The guy was asking me if I'm over my accident. No, not romantic accident, like my big one, my near fatal accident. And if so, are you going to make a video where you talk about the crash or like talk about the incident? It's quite interesting because some of you maybe know, like my long-term followers know that I even filmed the crash, like POV style, because I wanted to make an onboard. I never published it because I always thought that I would need to do a lot of explaining next to publishing that crash. And I had a very specific plan of borrowing an Africa Twin and to go back to my crash site with a cameraman and basically tell you the full story from where it happened. And also, whenever I'm talking to people and telling them my story of the accident, everybody tells me that, wow, you have to share this. Like, this is such an exciting and crazy story. Yeah, again, I never took the time to do that. Like, it would not be a problem to organize an Africa Twin. It would not be a problem to organize a cameraman. It was just never important enough to me. But just with fixing my bikes, I'm always saying, yeah, maybe next season I will do it. So maybe next season I will do it. Now, that's a good one. And it will also, there is also a connection to whatever I just talked about. If you have depression, bad hard days, I mean a bad mental state in general, are you using any other means of combating this besides motorcycles? Or what do you do when you can't ride? I like that question a lot. Not because I have a great recipe to battle depression or a bad state, a bad mental state in general. But because for me, riding motorcycles, and that's for me, this is different depending on what kind of person you are. But for me, I found out that riding is not therapy. Like some people would like to say that riding is therapy. No, for me, it was riding was just a mere distraction. I was basically literally riding away from my problems, like instead of facing or finding out where my bad feelings, my bad mental state is coming from, I was just hopping onto the bike and was recording, I don't know, some wacky videos or something like that. And this has been a pattern for most of my life, and actually is a pattern that I'm still trapped inside today. It's very hard work to go to therapy and to confront your inner demons. And it's very easy to distract yourself. And this does not have to be with like something terrible, like, I don't know, taking drugs or whatever. You can distract yourself with all kinds of things. And lately, I've been distracting myself mostly with work, actually. Because, both jobs that I do, that means like I'm working 30 hours a week for an online motorcycle magazine, making videos, but as a cameraman and an editor, I mean, cutter, not editor. I'm not standing in front of the camera, I'm standing behind the camera. And I'm also doing my social media. So these two things pay my bills. I mean, YouTube pays like a tiny share of my bills because the ad income I receive is, it's pocket money basically. So I need my 30-hour job to make ends meet, I think it's called. But since both my jobs are a great passion of mine, you could say it's super easy to focus on that and basically to escape your problems just by working. I don't know, maybe it's a bit hard to understand, but it basically means that I'm more or less trapped inside routines. Like I do my onboard, like I go to work my 30-hour job, and then I come home and I do my social media job, and the time in between I spend with doing nice trips with my girlfriend, or maybe going on a holiday, and that's it. But at the same time, I am not really happy with that, and not because I don't enjoy doing nice things with my girlfriend, but because there is things in my life that I would like to try. I'm always interested in trying new things and going into different directions. But I can't get out of my comfort zone because it's scary to leave your comfort zone, and it's difficult to leave your comfort zone. And so, for instance, for the longest time this year, or not for the longest time, I think till summer this year, I went to therapy more or less on a regular basis, but with that, best example, work was always more important than therapy, so I had to cancel many appointments because I had to go on work trips or stuff like that. But at the moment, I also lost the strength to even go to therapy sessions, because I also wasn't sure if it's like the right kind of therapy for me. And so, I started doubting, and then I don't go for a couple of weeks, and then you're like, yeah, well, sorted, whatever. I will just sit down and edit an onboard, and that's it. And this connects to the previous question with the accident, with the video about the accident, because this is just one of those things. It's one of those things that I always wanted to do, but I just never managed to escape my routines, like powerful enough or distinctively enough to actually start working on that project. So yeah, I've been faffing around a lot, and I have no idea if any of this makes any sense to you. But coming back to the original question, like what do you do to battle bad mental states? In my case, I just have to be disciplined enough and seek help, go to therapy. And I know that it's super difficult in many places to find and get therapy, and it's very expensive, unfortunately. I hope you're lucky enough to find help, to get help, to afford help. And if not, maybe try just opening up more, try to talk to people, because honestly, people who talk shit about you or can't deal like with you being not in the best kind of mental state, you don't need to spend time with those people anyway. Like I realized that opening up was a good idea, because those people who like don't mind, or even better, try to help you, those are the ones that you should stick with, because people who get annoyed or who make fun of you when you open up about your mental issues, yeah, those are idiots, immature idiots. And why would you spend time with immature idiots, except for when you want to have a laugh once in a while? But yeah, that's it. Sorry, I can't really help you with that, but yeah, try to get help. Yeah, I had to change my shirt because my cat is getting nervous because it's feeding time, and he's not very, yes, Chico boy, he's not very cautious with his claws, so I need to wear a shirt that can be punctured, and obviously a shirt from my employer is the best choice for that. Yes, Chico boy. Yes, good cat. Good. Doesn't the ability to ride almost any bike on the market make you enjoy your own bike less and less? Actually, it's kind of the opposite. Because when you ride those fancy and modern bikes all the time, you sometimes get the urge to try and ride something that's less evolved, that's a bit more primitive, but at the same time, something that feels more organic and something that feels more emotional, more exciting. And so, yeah, that's why I can very much enjoy, for instance, my old Dominator, because this thing is alive. Like no modern motorcycle feels alive to me, and that doesn't mean that I can't have a good time with them. But something like an old Dominator, to me, it feels like almost a living thing. And it has good days, it has bad days, and so I would say riding all those fancy bikes makes the old and crappy ones even more interesting. Have you ever been to the States? Only to Alaska, funnily enough. I had a journey booked to California where I also would have gotten to ride a motorcycle. That was like a dream vacation of mine. But on the day I was supposed to leave, I think that was kind of the day when COVID started to hit. And I canceled my flight, lost a lot of money. But that was one of the few anxiety induced, yeah, cat, it's 1 more hour till dinner time. That was one of the few anxiety-induced decisions I made that turned out to be right decisions, because it would have been a pain in the ass to get back from the States with all that COVID stuff going on. Is it worth the upgrade from Cardo Packtalk Neo to Edge? I have no idea. I've never used the Neo. I only use the Packtalk Black and the Packtalk Edge, and with those I'm very happy and satisfied. I'm definitely recommending Cardo, and I'm definitely recommending Cardo over Sena or Sena, whatever it's called. Where is your girlfriend from? She's from Ukraine. That's why she's a very strong woman. Best sounding motorcycle among all you've ridden. Probably forgetting one, but it's so obvious with the Aprilia Tuono V4. Like, Aprilia V4 is probably still the best sounding engine out there. What do you think about career, money, having kids, buying a home, getting old, pension plan, etc.? Career and money, I don't think about that a lot, because I'm not very materialistic in that sense. I don't feel like I need to have a great career or find a great job, because I already have a job that is, at the moment at least, the best, the right one for me. And as long as I can pay my bills, I don't need much more than this. So yeah, money and career is not really an issue of mine. All the other stuff, that just gives me anxiety attacks, I would say. Like, I'm not thinking about that. Like, at the moment, for instance, when it comes to having kids, I first of all don't know if I want to put kids into this kind of world we're living in, and but more than that, I feel way too insecure to raise a kid. I've seen my parents and how they have ruined me and my brother with their terrible marriage. And it was never their intention to ruin us. They're actually both very smart human beings, but they still managed to ruin us. And I'm just afraid of doing the same to an innocent little creature. So that's it. All of these questions regarding the future don't really go well with my insecurities and my anxieties. Have you ever ridden a Husqvarna Nuda 900? And if yes, do you like it? No, I have not, unfortunately. What are your long-term goals with the channel? And do you have a big trip similar to Ireland lined up? I don't have a long-term goal with my channel, because with like the kind of videos that I'm doing, I'm actually expecting having to stop at some point. If you think for a second, you maybe know what I'm talking about or what I mean. Of course, I would like to do more travel videos, but Ireland took me, I don't know how many hundreds of hours, and so I had to do it next to my job over several months, basically. Like, it took away most of my spare time. And unless I find a way of making videos that are less time consuming, I don't really have a future plan. I will keep going with my onboards as long as I can. I want to create a big archive of all kinds of motorcycle onboards. I was always obsessed with the topic of onboard videos, and so I will just keep going until I can't no more, for whatever reason. And no, unfortunately, I don't have any exciting travel plans, like video-wise. I will very soon go on my winter escape, but this time I'm not riding a motorcycle, because I'm following my girlfriend to Southeast Asia. So it's a month of vacation and scooter riding, and hopefully not too much work. In which country did you eat best, and what? The best food I probably had in Ireland, because I was traveling with my girlfriend, and together with my girlfriend, we're always very, very keen to find good and hipsterish restaurants, and there were some amazing places in Ireland to eat. So, like, very, very modern, progressive cuisine, and usually I like that. Country-wise, it's very difficult to eat bad in Italy. Like Italy is amazing when it comes to cuisine, and Greece is also very nice when it comes to riding and eating well, because they also have a very, very diverse and big cuisine. Also, lots of veggie options. So, and they seem to be obsessed with cheese as well. So that's great. And of course Vietnam, because I think the Vietnamese cuisine, because of the insane history of that country, is ultra diverse. And I also like spicy food a lot, and many Vietnamese dishes you can make spicy, you can prepare them spicy. So in general, I really like Southeast Asian food, so I'm really looking forward to riding there, even if it's just a scooter. What, just a scooter? I mean, I love scooters. I love I'm really looking forward to riding a scooter on an island in shorts and flip-flops, and then have some delicious whatever dish. I don't know the names, but I'm really looking forward to that. As a new rider, I'm just getting to the point of relaxing enough on a bike. Blah, 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 blah. How do you keep improving, especially cornering technique, in a safe manner when you don't have access to a track and can only ride street? When you don't have access to a track and when you don't have access to, I don't know, advanced courses or anything, I don't have any decent advice except for just take your time and be patient. Honestly, it took me, I would say, I mean, I'm still improving, like you never stop learning, but the way I'm riding right now, I would say I'm like, I have this kind of level for 2 to 3 years now, a level with which I am somewhat pleased, like road riding. And so that took me, how many years is that? I don't know. I started riding in 2007, 8, like motorcycles. So it took me many years to get there. It's in my case, I was lucky because in my first few years I was very wild, and I was just lucky many times to survive, like to having survived that. But at some point I realized that there's nothing else you can do except for taking your time. Don't stress yourself. Just go out riding and riding and riding, and really try to improve your lean angles and your speed very, very slowly and very, very gradually. And maybe you can find a couple of corners that at least don't have any objects left and right of the road where you could crash into in case you do crash. So maybe you can find like a road in an open field where it would not be the end of the world if you crash, and then just practice your technique in those few corners. I mean, nowadays I'm old enough to say, just don't try to ride fast anyhow anyway on the road, because it's not worth it and it's too dangerous. But if you want to become fast, it's important to take your time and maybe try to find a safe-ish environment for like practice corners or for practicing cornering or whatever. How tall are you? I'm 184 centimeters tall. I'm glad he didn't ask how long are you. What was your favorite section of the Wild Atlantic Way? You have to check out my Ireland video. It's linked in the description if you want to know what the Wild Atlantic Way is. My favorite section was Echill Island. Everything that was on Echill Island. I absolutely adored that place, and it was definitely my favorite from those 16 days of traveling. Favorite BMW? I really like the GS, although I haven't ridden the new one yet, unfortunately. But my absolute favorite is, of course, the rNineT. Like the bike where BMW had the genius idea of using very, very old and unused parts and butcher it together to something pretty and sell it for a shitload of money. I totally fell for that just because of that air-cooled boxer engine. It's absolutely amazing. That's one of the few modern bikes that you can buy that still feel like they have a certain character to them, similar to actually a lot of Moto Guzzi's So yeah, favorite BMW is definitely the R9T in, I don't know which, like however that version is called, that has like the good suspension. What did you have more fun with, maxing out a 500cc or enjoying the bigger, stronger bikes? Even though it feels absolutely amazing to have like insane acceleration, of course it's in the end, I would say, more fun to max out a smaller bike. And in my case, that's mostly because, yeah, on those super powerful bikes, you're constantly doing speeds that almost would put you into jail, or at least would make you go bankrupt if they catch you. And um, the guilty conscience part is bigger when I'm riding those powerful bikes. So on smaller bikes, it's not as big, and obviously that's more enjoyable for me. Yeah, now I had to change cameras because my big camera keeps on overheating because apparently I'm talking too much. Oh well. What are your favorite motorcycle Winterflucht locations, like winter escape locations, and why? That's an easy one because by far my favorite winter escape location is the paradise-like island of Gran Canaria, and there's no doubt about that for me. It is the best, and I even made a standalone video where I'm explaining why I love that island so much for motorcycling. It's of course also linked in the description. Do I even have to add this at this point? I don't know. That's an interesting one. How do you get your family's trust to ride a motorcycle? Yeah, like I said, very good question. The beginning of my whole motorcycle career, so to say, no, I just mean me starting to ride bikes. My first bike, like it was a moped. I mean, on paper, it was a moped. I got when I was 16 years old. It was an old Vespa. And I even did an onboard video with that one. And it was the first onboard video I ever did, I think in the year of 2007. And it was probably the only onboard video where I'm getting overtaken by a car. But the reason why I'm telling this is because it was my brother. I have a brother, he's 2 years older than me. And he basically was fighting for a whole year to be allowed to get that moped license and then buy himself a moped. And so, yeah, he convinced my mother because she said no, like I said, for a year. But in the end, he managed to convince her. And so I didn't have to fight for that right anymore. And the reason why I got the motorcycle license and in the end also a bike, or the reason, or let's say the reason why I was excited about the motorcycle license was I had a good time when I was riding my moped because back then my parents were getting a divorce, so it was amazing that I was just able to, yeah, escape home on my own vehicle. That was a fantastic. I talked about it earlier, like a fantastic escape thingy. And at the same time, when I was 18 years old, I knew that I was able, I knew that I could afford a motorcycle, but not a car. And that was all the excitement. Like, I knew that if I get the motorcycle license, I can buy myself my own motorcycle. And that's where I got my little Honda. But regarding gaining their trust, I unfortunately can't help you with that because my mother is still worried to this day, and you can imagine how how much fun she had when I had my accident, and when she heard that I will get back onto the bike. Yeah, but she loves me, and she knows that it's my passion. It's what I do. It's my favorite kind of distraction, or it used to be my favorite kind of distraction. Let's put it that way. So yeah, let's say her love is bigger than her sorrows, and she is getting worried when I'm out riding, and there is nothing I can do, you know. So I don't know. Maybe tell your family how amazingly happy it makes you to ride motorcycles. And I think if your family loves you, they will understand that. And yeah, just like they say, if you love something, then let it go. So they will let you go, I guess. I hope. I'm thinking about MT10 or new 990 Duke. I know it's different bike, but which one? Well, I would get the MT10 for obvious reasons that I have explained earlier. And at the same time, I probably also would not get a modern KTM because I think they're very unreliable, like more unreliable than other European brands even. So I love riding KTM's because they are a lot of fun. Like the road bikes. I mean, off-road KTM's are, well, I don't know, in a league of their own anyway. But I'm talking about the road bikes here. They are a lot of fun to ride, but from my personal experience, they are very unreliable, and yeah, they don't seem to, like, KTM also doesn't seem to do anything about that. When you have a look at their history of problems with 790 and then 890, etc., etc. So it's doesn't make them super likable. So yes, MT10, of course. Is there any chance of CB500 video? Well, I explained it earlier. It's a matter of money. It's a matter of priorities. I don't know. I don't know how many of you have to ask me to make one before I actually get my ass up and try to take care of the little Honda. But trust me, I would like to make onboards with all my Hondas, with all my old Hondas again. But yeah, it's just that it's just not high enough on my priorities list. But I don't know. Maybe you can start a public vote or something like this, and then maybe you can convince me otherwise. Convince me to change my priorities. Okay, now how do I find the community tab on my phone so I can find your questions? It's like my hairstyle fits me and my cluelessness regarding phone stuff now very well. I think I look like an authentic boomer right now. I would like to access this post. Why can't I access it? Okay, content. Okay, cut. I love the roads, corners, asphalt quality, and the nature scene in your videos. Maybe this needs a whole video, but could you tell us what are some of your favorite routes so far? Yes, that's a good point. This definitely needs a video on its own. I will not share my favorite routes right now because I would need to think about my favorite routes, which ones are my favorite routes. So maybe I will make a video one day about it, probably in the year 2036 or something like this. But I can tell you that if I like spontaneously would have to find an answer to my favorite road, it's the SS 389 on the island of Sardinia. It's the most fun road I've ever ridden, I think. I'm curious what bike you would pick as your absolute favorite in each category. And our friend lists as categories adventure, sport, sports tourer, tourer, cruiser, retro, classic, dual sport, trial. Well, from many of those categories, I haven't even ridden one bike, so I can't tell you. And in general, I don't really like the question of favorite bike because there can only be a best or also even for me a favorite bike for a certain purpose. And so, okay, I will try to find favorites for certain purposes. And I'm only talking about bikes that you can buy right now. So Euro 5 or something like this. So adventure off-road, it would be the Tenere 700 because with that one I feel the best. Even as an off-road beginner, I feel fairly confident on the Tenere. Adventure road, yeah, some people consider the Multistrada a sports tourer crossover, whatever. I call it an adventure bike since I'm talking about road riding. So adventure road would be the Multistrada V2S, or even better, the older version, the 950S. That with that bike I had the most fun. and at the same time the best experience overall when traveling for a long time. Like it's both comfortable and fast, so very good compromise, this bike. Sports, like I don't know. I haven't ridden all the super sports. I'm not the right person for this one, so I don't have a super sports favorite. Sporty naked bikes, the do-it-all option I already explained, the MT10. And when it comes to the fastest option, I'm not sure about that, because I haven't ridden all of them, but I think on a track I would probably be fastest, probably with the Tuono V4 factory or the Speed Triple RS. Yeah, not so much because of power, because like they're all way too powerful anyway, but because they have very sporty geometry, and you get a very, very good feedback from the high quality Öhlins components that they use. So yeah, I think it's either Speed Triple RS or Tuono when it's about being fast. Yeah, cruisers. I haven't ridden enough cruisers. I haven't ridden enough retros. Dual sport, same. I think I've ridden maybe 2 different ones. Sports Tourer. Maybe I can find something here in this category. Yeah, the main problem is that I would need to think long and hard about this, because I know for sure that I am now also forgetting about a lot of models. Actually, I mean, it would be a very obvious but also a nice idea for a standalone video, should I ever run out of onboards. I can maybe name something that's surprising to some of you. I really loved touring with the BMW 1250 RT, like the dedicated tourer. It's difficult to explain why, but I mean the Boxer engine is a legend, and the RT feels, it feels like a very, very comfy and a very mighty touring machine. Like you have insanely good wind protection, you have this comfort orientated suspension, and at the same time you have the exciting Boxer heart. So I myself didn't expect it, but I really enjoyed that bike. I also really love the Kawasaki Versys 1000S, because it has insanely good wind protection and it has amazing suspension components, especially because it's not the most expensive bike that you can buy, and still the suspension works fantastically well. It's super, super comfy, it's super smooth. Much nicer, for instance, than the RT suspension. But in general, Kawasaki is usually really, really good at giving even their cheaper bikes very, very decent suspension systems, and I like them for that. And even though it's definitely more of an adventure bike, I mean, at least from the looks and the category, but I also really enjoyed the V85 TT from Moto Guzzi, simply because I just love Moto Guzzi engines. I really love those air-cooled engines. Some philosophic question. Since you have driven so many different bikes, what is the most fun aspect of a bike? Does joy increase with motor power? Is it the suspension or the magic of the environment? That's a wonderful question. And yeah, since it is kind of philosophical, of course, there is no definite and specific answer for that. But in my case, I can definitely say that it's a mixture of several different aspects, and it's very much depending on my own state of mind and on my own mood. I hope I can make that somewhat clearer with an example, because I do have a clear answer to what was the best motorcycle experience you ever had, especially when, or let's say, what was the best feeling you ever had on a motorcycle. This was in 2015 when I was riding Vietnam on a 110cc semi-automatic Honda Wave. Back then it was a day where I had to split up with Troy, the local guy that I knew from YouTube and that I met, and with whom I wanted to do the whole journey. But for several reasons, we had to split up, or let's say he encouraged me to split up, and that was a fantastic decision, because for me, I was extremely anxious and extremely worried about traveling on my own, because at that point I've never left Europe and I've never traveled on my own. But in the end I did, and I was riding, I think, for half an hour, and I was surrounded by the most glorious Vietnamese jungle, mountainous landscape on my 110cc scooter, and suddenly I realized that I'm able to do this. That I'm and I'm getting emotional thinking about it right now. That I'm just capable of doing something like this on my own, and that was the happiest I ever felt on a bike, and it was a 110cc scooter, so it is definitely not a bike. God, I'm glad I'm a strong opposer of toxic masculinity. Otherwise, this would be embarrassing now. But I'm embracing it. How is your life mood now in general nowadays? Could you find your happiness finally? Yeah, I mean, I'm far away from being happy, unfortunately. I also think that I will never be able to find my happiness. But what I hopefully will be able is to live and cope with the fact that I am the way I am, that my mind is giving me a hard time most of my life and most of my days. I'm not there yet, and I think I don't know if I will ever reach that point where I can say, okay, like I have accepted this completely. But I was doing better in the first half of the year. Now I'm being very lazy with therapy, so this could be a decent New Year's resolution for me to go back to therapy, or maybe find a new therapist, to try to continue with improving my mental health. Thank you for asking. What were the most memorable moments riding a motorcycle, and what was the most amazing thing you've saw? The most amazing moment I just talked about. In general, traveling Vietnam on a motorbike was absolutely amazing. But what comes to my mind when I hear that is basically every time I'm traveling on a motorcycle and I'm meeting people who are, I don't know how to say it in English, but who are embracing me and the people I'm riding with, who don't seem to be angry at bikers. Because in Austria, or maybe even Central Europe, sometimes there is... sometimes you can feel that you're not wanted as a motorcyclist. I understand where it's coming from, because most motorcycles are too loud and most people are not disciplined enough to not rev their engines unless they are far away from every sort of, I don't know, village or town or whatever. And I'm guilty of that myself. I mean, I really try to do better in that aspect, and nowadays I'm only riding loud and fast for my onboards, and even in my onboards I try to slow down whenever there is people nearby, so that it's just not so loud. But still, when you travel to more southern countries in Europe, where people have a different understanding of volume and of what's annoying and what's not annoying, it is such a nice change to go somewhere, to park your bike, you go for a break, and then suddenly someone is approaching you, but he's not telling you to go fuck yourself, but instead he's just interested in how you're doing and where you're going and what kind of bike you're riding. And I've witnessed that in all of the Balkan countries. I mean, Balkan people are absolutely wonderful anyway. But I also witnessed it in Spain or in southern Italy. It's It's just such a nice change to us Austrians or Germans. Many of us live with a big stick up their ass, and it must be an unpleasant life, and so it gives them some kind of satisfaction to annoy others, to make others feel bad. I don't know what it is. But yeah, in general, that's like being welcomed as a biker is a very, very nice feeling that is a bit rare in my parts of where I'm living. So I would say this is always the greatest moment when you're on your bike and then you, or let's say next to your bike, and you still manage to connect with people in some way. What approach did you take to improve your riding skills? Are there any courses you can recommend in Austria, Germany that improved your street riding skills? I didn't do any lessons or trainings except for one that I once had to attend for work because I was also reporting the from that event. Not sure how it's called, but I think you can find it with Google. I think the guy was called or is called Klaus Schwabe, and I think he used to do BMW trainings, and then he also did KTM trainings because I did one with KTM and Klaus Schwabe, and it was definitely useful. So that one I can recommend. And apart from that, I never attended any classes or lessons, so no idea, sorry. Did you in the beginning experience the same fear, and if so, how long did it take you to overcome it? I don't really have a good answer, but I just love your question because it does remind me of the fact that it was somewhat the same to me when I started to ride bikes. And I see there's a comment where someone is saying, yes, everyone does. Just give it full gas on a safe road a few times and you will see it okay. I don't know if that's the right way to approach it, but yeah, I made the same experience. I just lost this kind of negative feeling of being scared with time. Just after a few motorway rides, it improved, and at some point, it was completely gone. So you'll be fine. You will get used to it. Okay, I answered the first part, but there's something else to it. Do you find it hard to find like-minded riders to go on riding adventures with? I like that question because with that one I can explain that I mostly lost my interest in road riding, I have to be honest, because nowadays I'm actually mostly road riding whenever I want to record an onboard video or if I'm going on a nice day trip with my girlfriend on the back. I try to go more towards off-road these days, which is very difficult because in Austria off-roading is more or less completely illegal, so I always have to travel somewhere else if I want to go off-road. Yeah, on at some point riding on the road, I realized that it's for me it's about thrill and speed, but I had to learn the hard way that it's not a good idea to ride on the road and to be about speed and thrills. So you could say that because what you have to understand, and this is an important point that many people of you don't understand, is that the onboard videos show, I don't know, probably 1 or 2% of my total riding, because the rest of the time I'm commuting or traveling or doing day trips with my girlfriend. I actually stick to the speed limit most of the time. I'm actually riding rather slowly, you would say, most of the time, because I don't know, I don't enjoy being in a rush, being in a hurry anymore, at least. And the reason why I don't enjoy it is, like I said, I found out the hard way that it's too dangerous, and at the same time, also for my environment, like I would feel like an antisocial piece of shit if I would do high speeds all the time, simply because then my bike is super loud all the time. And but then of course there's a problem that it all starts to lack excitement at some point, because riding on the road feels like a routine to me. And like even this onboard video pace I'm doing, that's me in my comfort zone, because I'm not leaving my comfort zone anymore on the road, or at least I'm trying my best not to. So that's why I really enjoy off-roading, because off-roading is very scary. I'm really bad at it, but this means that it's occupying my mind a lot more than riding on the road. When I'm riding my bike on the road, I still have a lot of time to worry about shit, to go into my usual vicious circle of negative thinking and worrying and anxiety and all of that. And off-road, I am so busy with mere survival that there is certainly no time for these negative thoughts. It's just a challenge, and that's what I'm trying to do more. But unfortunately, like I said, it's very difficult, and I also don't manage to improve fast enough because I can't practice enough. So how did I got here? Oh yeah, the like-minded people. And yes, because it was never difficult to find people for road riding, because I have a couple of great friends who ride on the road. But for off-road riding, it's not easy to find people, because I'm very picky when it comes to my company, and not a lot of people are riding off-road. So I basically I have one good friend, and I have my brother, and those are the only people I know who ride off-road. I would say yes, it is difficult to especially find people who can join you on off-road adventures. But the good thing is that the one friend that I do have, this year we even managed to combine like a couple's trip and an off-road trip in 1-2 week vacation. And for that one, I'm really grateful, because you have to be really lucky to find someone like that. And I have to be especially lucky because, like I said, I don't want to spend time just with anyone. I need decent and good company to have a good time, to be distracted well enough. So yeah, it is difficult, but I'm very grateful for the few people that I do have. What changed in your driving style after the horrific accident? I think you can see it in my onboards. The newer the uploads, the better it gets. My direction changes, like my changes from one lean to the other lean, like from left to right, right to left. I do that a lot more gentle. I tend to brake earlier, and most importantly for my own safety, I go a lot less fast around blind corners. Like the speeds that I used to do around blind corners, it was just irresponsible, and that was one of the few things that I didn't really notice back then. And what's also very important is that my riding line has become just safer in general. Like I try to do late corner entry, so I can see better around the corner, and I also try my best to stay away from the middle line, not to collide with oncoming traffic. So I think these are the main points. In general, you could say that my riding is even though it's still fast, it's much more controlled compared to my old self. And if you just look at any video that was published in 2017, like before May 2017, you can easily spot that. Your favorite scooter? Unfortunately, I haven't ridden many scooters, but still, of course, my favorite is an old Vespa, like the that had like manual transmission and a shifter for, or like on the left, was it left hand, right, clutch shift, so the old Vespa PK50S is my favorite scooter. By the way, I did receive some questions related about which bike can you recommend for this, I'm not replying to most of them in this video, simply because it's boring for me to answer those questions. So like I said, the ones that I can answer, I will do on YouTube or Instagram directly. Will you do a drive with the Honda CB650R? I already did many years ago, and if you become a channel member, like the elite channel member, I don't know, I don't even know what it's called. I think, was it called 10% or no? I have no idea. Like the one that's more expensive, you can watch the raw if you want. Why is Schaaf? I think he means where my name is coming from. I will post an explanation in the description text. Are baldies the new baddies? Why new baddies? I thought baldies were always considered the baddies. Or any cliche baddie in any cliche gangster movie usually is bald, right? So I would like not to be bald, but I didn't choose bald life. Bald life chose me. What gear you have? Whatever I receive from my employer, which is an online motorcycle magazine, and that's usually not the good stuff, unfortunately. So maybe I should save some money and finally buy myself something decent. It's very related to that one. What is the name of your hairstylist? The name is Schaaf because I have to cut my own hair. I wouldn't be no, I would be able to afford, but I wouldn't like to pay a hairstylist every week. I would like to start recording my trips with my blah 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 blah. Where you suggest to put the camera to get the best shots? Definitely the helmet. Yeah, microphone. Like the chin of your helmet. I think this is the best position because you have a good point of view, but at the same time it's your helmet, so you can move around with the camera. Do you honestly think endothermic bikes has a future, or the electric diktat will eventually get them? I don't even understand the question, but it's probably about electric bikes or something like that. I have no idea. Like the few electric motorcycles that I've been riding so far, they were fun. At the same time, they didn't really move anything on the inside. So I am I am interested in electric bikes replacing hard enduros at some point, because with a silent hard enduro, I wouldn't mind riding illegally in some Austrian forest. Because the noise is the biggest problem. I mean, of course, I know it's not just the noise, but you get it. Like with a silent electric bike, you could be very, very sneaky. So that one I'm interested in, and of course, I think I wouldn't mind traveling on an electric bike, because for a travel machine, I don't need all those emotions, but that's also the biggest problem. Like reach, the distance you can go with one battery charge. That's the biggest issue so far, or right now, I think. Um, so this is not going to happen soon, I guess. I have no idea. I'm no expert. But there is also quite a big chance that we will reach a point where riding motorcycles like we do it now um, will be different, or it will not be the same anymore like it is right now. And I think then, yeah, I will probably find a new passion to pursue, or like I said, maybe I will just stick to only off-roading with electric bikes or something like that. How did you learn to use a clutch motorcycle? I it Driving school. Like in Austria or the whole of Europe, you have to go to driving school in order to be allowed to drive or ride any vehicle. Yeah, the first clutch motorcycle I ever used was my Vespa PK50, if you can call that a motorcycle. And the first one I used at driving school was an old Rebel 250, I think, because it was standing around on a parking lot where we had our very first lesson. And since I was the only one who had moped experience of the group, the driving instructor just was letting me like drive around in circles with the old Rebel while he was explaining the basics to the other guys. So that was fun. Can you recommend some bikes with the versatility of the Speed Triple 1050? How is the Speed Triple 1050 versatile? It's a standard power naked. So yes, any power naked out there. What is your full-time job? I explained it earlier. I will explain it again. I'm a content creator for an online motorcycle magazine called 1000 PS. It's like my my bread job. It's how I pay my bills. Unfortunately, it doesn't give me the chance to use any of my creativity or actual talents. But that's what social media is for. That's what I have my own social media. I can live out my creativity, my urges to be creative once in a while or whatever. I can do that on my own social media. So and at the same time I'm always surrounded by bikes. So yeah, that's at the moment that's a good thing for me, and that's the right thing for me. Your step-by-step tip to riders who want to ride more sportily. Yeah, I already said it. It's the most important thing is to take your time. And I think I didn't say it that clear. One good thing I learned is if you want to become fast, you have to stop trying to ride fast. I know it sounds sounds odd, but that's what did the trick for me. You know, the moment where I tried, at the moment where I stopped to like forcefully ride fast, that was when I stopped making all those unnecessary mistakes. So once I stopped that, you could say that I was just feeling more relaxed on the bike, and then I focused mainly on my riding line, on improving my riding line, and feeling comfy while focusing on my riding line. Just with practice, the speed then came by itself or came automatically. It's also quite funny because from those questions it seems that some of you people consider me as a fast or a good rider even. Yeah, I don't. I consider myself as an above average rider on the road, but that's it. You know, like I spend so much time because of my job with people who are actually fast on the track or off road, and both on the track and off road. I suck, and like. But that's where the actual skill is. That's where the challenge is. This is where riding becomes difficult, because to be fast on the road, it doesn't take much skill. It mostly takes balls, or you have to be an ignorant idiot. I probably was a combination of both. But yeah, like even the riding that I do in my onboards, I would say like in my eyes it doesn't take that much skill, because it's I'm not using, like I'm not even using any kind of technique while I'm riding. You know, I'm just riding the way that feels right to me. And like I said, as soon as I'm on a track or off road where I have to really take care of shifting my weight back and forth, or in general like shifting my body around, and that it has a great impact on my riding and what I'm doing with my body. You know, I'm not doing that on the road, because it's like I'm because I'm doing speeds, I'm doing lean angles that don't ask for that. You know, like I'm not trying to be fast. Why do you rev the engine while downshifts? Uh, yeah, I'm too stupid to explain it, but just Google rev matching. Unfortunately, it's not a question. When I see the face in a couple of seconds, I thought it's Johnny Sins. Sorry. I I wish. Thank you. That was the nicest thing somebody has said to me in a while. Oh yeah, and since we're doing not questions right now, I just wanted to say thank you, my man. Your content made me go to Gran Canaria and ride there. Your content made me a safer rider. Your content made me buy a GoPro and add a facet to my hobby I never knew I would enjoy so much. Thanks for uploading. Thank you for sharing. You know, I sometimes tend to forget that. I sometimes tend to forget that my work on YouTube has had an impact on some people, and that impact was a positive one. And I'm really grateful that I can create content that is actually able to get people out there. Like for instance, if you followed my example of going to Gran Canaria, yeah, you have witnessed it yourself. It is paradise, and I think it's amazing that I can be responsible for adding something wonderful like a trip to Gran Canaria to someone's life. So yeah, thank you for commenting. Honestly, thank you for sharing. This brightens my mood for a few seconds, and that's great already. My favorite motorcycle, it will always be the CB500 PC26, for nostalgic reasons. And the brand of motorcycles I like the most, yeah, it's the same for nostalgic and emotional reasons. It's Honda. even though I don't even like their modern portfolio. Like most of the bikes, I think they're pretty boring. But since my first bike was a Honda, and since they have the only V4 that I can afford, and since they used to call a bike Dominator, which is kind of funny, it's my favorite brand. But I like all motorcycle brands. I don't really have a favorite. I don't like KTM that much for political reasons, but I will still enjoy riding their bikes. I just wouldn't like to own one. And no, I'm definitely not riding a motorcycle daily right now. For instance, I think it has been almost 2 months since I rode a motorcycle. So I don't know, like in the season, I would say it's probably on average once or twice a week. And my favorite category of motorcycle, I don't have a favorite category either. Like I already explained, off-road is becoming more and more interesting. And I would honestly say for riding on the road, the most joy these days I have when I'm riding a big S V2 cruiser, because those are the only machines that completely take like my ego and my need for speed out of the equation, and I can just enjoy the rumble of the engine going way below the speed limit. Honestly, I really, really love those big Harleys, Indians, or even the R18 from BMW. That was also great fun. rNineT or Thruxton R, rNineT. What is the story behind getting your CB500? It was the only motorcycle that I could afford, and that was multi-purpose. I wanted something that can travel, but at the same time can be ridden fast-ish. And back then there was only the option of with my kind of budget, there was only the option of the ER5, the Suzuki GS500, and the Honda CB500. And I was torn between the ER5 and the Honda, but there were many more offers in Austria for the CB500, so I got a CB500. Favorite kind of tacos. Tacos are not a big thing in Austria or in Vienna. I mean, of course, there's many Tex-Mex places who will sell you tacos, but I don't even know if it's the real thing. Sometimes I visited friends and they had taco night, and I thought that's a really nice tradition, like this Taco Tuesday or whatever it was. But I don't know what kinds there are. Like what taco kinds are there? You have to tell me, because I'm not good with like I don't know anything about that kind of food. I also think that I prefer burritos over tacos. Update on how you record motorcycle audio. I get asked that question quite often, funnily enough. And no, I still use the same method. I just sometimes I use a different bag for the recorder. I have experimented with all kinds of bags, but the backpack from the tutorial video, I still get the most reliable results with that one. And nowadays I'm just using a Zoom H, what is it called even? I have no idea. I think it's here it is, H2N instead of the H1N. For no apparent reason. Like my results sound completely the same. I just got this one day. Oh yeah, no, right, because this one has a AA batteries over the AAA. They last longer and they are cheaper. How scared are you when you miss the cornering line or when you feel like tires are slippery? Well, when the tires are slippery, I mean that means like when the surface is slippery and doesn't provide enough grip. I don't feel scared at all, because hopefully I will notice it immediately and then I will just take out enough speed so I don't feel scared, which means on slippery surfaces or on bad surfaces, I don't ride fast. I'm not trying to ride fast. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. And what about like how scared am I when I miss the cornering line? Yeah, that's an interesting point. I mean, it doesn't happen too often, fortunately, nowadays. And the best thing about it is I'm actually also not scared. Usually it's a kind of a, I don't know, almost satisfying experience, because honestly, in the last couple of years, even when I missed my riding line, I did not swerve, or ride into the oncoming lane, because you can't ride at your 100%, especially not on the road. So I like I said, I'm riding in my comfort zone, and at the same time I'm trying to leave reserves for the unexpected to happen. And every time it happens that I miss my riding line and I still manage to keep it to my side, it tells me that the amount of reserves that I'm riding with, it's like a correct amount apparently. What's your favorite bike you have ridden in 2023? This year wasn't a very strong motorcycle year of mine, I have to say. I had a great time on the Vespa, on the 300cc Vespa, but not because the Vespa is great. It's actually an overpriced status symbol, but it's a scooter, and I love scooters, and so I had a wonderful time sitting on the Vespa because it's a scooter, riding around town in nice spring weather. And apart from that, it's so funny because that's how I realized that I have no idea which kind of bikes I was riding this season. So like I'm trying to think of my onboard uploads that I did. What was my favorite? Maybe the Moto Guzzi V100 Mandello S, because I was very curious to find out if Moto Guzzi managed to transform their bikes into the modern world with a water-cooled engine, and I was glad to experience that they actually did. Like the V100 feels like a modern bike, but it also feels like a Moto Guzzi, so that was a very, very satisfying ride. Are you going to fix your little Honda, or are you going to sell it and buy something else? I explained the first part already, but I will never sell it because the value, I don't know, it's probably I would receive 500 euros for it. So even though I don't have too strong of an emotional bond with my vehicles, the emotional value of the CB500 is far higher than the materialistic value. So that one I will never ever sell. Maybe one day I become famous enough to have it placed in a museum, but I don't think this is going to happen. Why you like to ride like a lunatic? Yeah, according to my opinion, I used to ride like a lunatic before my accident, and nowadays I am not riding like a lunatic anymore. I think it's actually rather controlled whatever I'm doing, but you, my viewers, you have to tell me, do you think that I'm riding like a lunatic? What are your color grade settings? I think it's very funny that somebody asks me this question because I have zero understanding of color grading. That's a very specific question about video editing, by the way, if you don't understand what grading means. I don't have settings. I just faff around with the standard Adobe Premiere presets, like move the sliders until I like what I see, so that's it. All right, friends. That was a long-ass video. Well, I mean, it's your own fault, kind of, because you were sending me so many questions. Like I said, I didn't reply to all of them. Some of you will receive the replies underneath their postings. Thank you so much for your interest, basically, for your questions. I felt very, very honored to have received a lot of them. If you want to do me a favor, and if you want to treat yourself to something, think about buying a t-shirt maybe. The link is in the description, and it's only valid for the next 7 days. The next campaign I will probably do in 3 years if I stick to that t-shirt campaign rhythm. Yeah, maybe a small future outlook. Like I said earlier, I don't really have any big travel plans for 2024. But there is a lot of exciting new bikes being released next year, which is a big contrast to 2023 because there was not that many new bikes that were exciting. But next season, I will be very busy trying to record as many onboards as I can with all those exciting new bikes. So you will probably see more onboards next year compared to this season. Yeah, but for the next couple of months, I think you have to be strong because since I am not doing a winter escape to the Canary Islands this winter, it means that I don't get to ride bikes until, I don't know, March, April, something like that. I mean, here in Austria where I'm making my videos. So, yeah, I don't know. I think I'm maybe in Spain with work a bit earlier, but I'm guessing that end of February, beginning of March is when you can expect new onboards from me. I will be away for more than a month very soon over the Christmas time. So I'm also not publishing anything while I'm gone because it's a holiday and I don't want to work. I still have a ton of videos that I never published with the MT10, with the Multistrada 950S from mostly Slovenia. And I think I even have videos from Gran Canaria that I haven't published so far. So I could still upload for a long time. But yeah, those videos, they're not as exciting neither to me nor to you. So I will see what I do. There's a chance that my channel becomes a bit quieter over the next couple of months. Fortunately, I'm not dependent on that because otherwise I would be very anxious right now. Well, anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for all your questions. I hope you stick around over the next few months, even if they're a bit more quiet than usual. As always, speed safe. Servus, pfiat euch. Goodbye.